shit.
All right, I think we're going. All right. This is Get the News Straight. I'm your host, Glenn Sutphin, and this is Chris Dorsey.
Greetings.
Tonight's topic is going to be Jade Helm.
Jade Helm.
Yeah, Jade Helm, and what we've uncovered, and to tell people what's going on.
Yeah, in case you don't know, in case you don't look outside, when you hear the freaking squadron of Blackhawks flying over your house. But back to you.
No,
I digress.
Okay, well, I've been doing a lot of research since was in the Army in 86, 87, right around the time of Rex 84, which is what started a lot of this. The movement now was back then with, well, everybody remembers Iran-Contra, Ollie North. I mean, if you weren't alive back then, you don't need to tell me what's going on now. Okay,
that's
right. Pretty much. If you don't remember Ollie North and Iran-Contra, you can't tell me that now is normal.
I watched it on TV when I was, I guess I was 13 at the time. It was on TV every day.
Yeah, well, like I said,
we saw it. We watched it.
I was in the Army and it come out, so I had a lot of Army manuals that were describing what was going to happen, and they're now public again on public access on the internet that I'll link later in a PDF file for everybody so they can see all my research that I don't do and all this stuff that's not happening that the Army manuals say, here's what's going on.
Well, this is obvious. So I mean, I'm with you, Glenn. We Glenn and several others have documented all this stuff. So, I think, maybe we can just speak to those who are serious individuals and the people. So we'll speak to the people.
We'll speak to everybody because everybody needs to hear this.
Everyone needs to hear this.
Whether or not you agree with us or not.
This is what's happening, though.
This is, yeah.
Whether you agree with us or not, it's not whether you agree with us. We're just saying this is what's happening. This is what has been verified. This is what we have video of. And this is what the institutions that are carrying it out say in their own documents, and that this is irrefutable because the documents are matching up with the timelines, which are matching up with actions that we're describing, where we're seeing the military patrolling James River Park in the city of Richmond, where we're seeing military choppers every day,
sometimes every hour. I mean they fly around frequently,
and and
at like 300 feet off the ground at times. I mean, they're coming down. They're coming down almost tree line.
We got them on video. Sometimes we can't catch them because they're lower than certain tree lines.
Yeah.
But again, RVA or Richmond Peace on YouTube. I got lots of videos, and I don't think I even have the best. Madison Star Moon has some really good videos from down in Virginia Beach. We're in the south side of Richmond, but we live in a residential neighborhood, and we're seeing military on the ground. We're seeing police drills everywhere, and just back to you. I just wanted to get that in. That this is serious. We're not really taking seriously the folks that are denying that this is happening and that there's a connection between these military drills and operations and the documents that are declassified that anyone can see, telling everyone in the American public that they're doing it, and their own videos that they're putting out to the media.
They're putting out their own propaganda saying this is what we're doing, and everybody's denying
because they know Americans won't read anything. They're like, oh, wait a second, this isn't going to work for us. We got to let them know. We got to let them know what's going on, and they're not even going to read these declassified documents where it talks about how we're initiating martial law and we're throwing out the Constitution, and that we're entering into an accelerated United Nations one world government agenda. We can't. They're not going to read that when we tell them that. So we'll show it to them on video. So that's what they're doing now. The military is releasing video where they're gunning down, practicing to gun down Virginians?
Sovereign citizens, or what are their duality?
I watched the video of the particular drill, and
that was the drill in California.
I'm talking about the one in Yorktown.
Yeah, that's a different drill. But the one in California, the key word was, "I'm a sovereign citizen, and I don't agree with your authority." And then they come rushing in.
I'm a sovereign. A sovereign citizen is? There's no such thing. A sovereign citizen
we were discussing this last night.
King slave. So, that's another thing with these sovereign citizens. I've had Virginia State Capitol Police, and we know about their subterfuge in this whole operation. This guy, who's a real joke, what's his name? I'll think of it in a second. He stopped me at the Robert E. Lee Monument. I think I was on my bike and kept asking me if I was a sovereign citizen, But Ed Black Chick. Now he tells me he voted for me for sheriff. That was the guy.
Okay.
He's the one that called me up and threatened me because I was exposing the election fraud, and that was all coming out of
you didn't need to expose it. You just have to go, there it is, and if they put it on TV. Right. I mean, look at screen captures I got. 0% voting, 0% returns, but they've already got winners.
Right.
Oh. So yeah.
Oh, and how about they fucking even the ones that are carrying out the fraud, they can't do it anymore because Northrop Grumman through the VITA was like, hey, folks are on to the fact that these voting machines don't work anymore because of all the cell phone pictures, even though we threatened to call the police if anybody takes video inside the voting booth. Which is really crazy.
Because private area.
Yeah, it's a private
area. By yourself, you can't take a photo of where you're at.
Here, press a button and we'll tell you what the results are. and don't worry about it, but certainly don't verify that you took part in it or pressed a button or voted for one particular candidate over another. Let me tell you, elections are all fixed. Virginia just verified it last week by saying that they were decertifying all of the voting machines in about 40% of the Commonwealth of Virginia, including the city of Richmond. And how many elections have the rigged criminal elections officials in the Commonwealth of Virginia and the city of Richmond swung these elections, even though they're fixed before the elections even start.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get back. I mean,
it's kind of digressing, but it's all part.
But it's all part. Yeah. When we say this, it's a Pentagon operation. These voting machines, who are we talking about? Who controls all the computer systems in the Commonwealth of Virginia? Northrop Grumman. So what are they going to do? They're going to place the blame on the voting machines when the Virginia Board of Elections, who tabulates and makes official these voting counts, shows itself to be presenting 0 votes 8 days after an election from a quarter of the population of the city of Richmond. So anyway, it's the military. It's a military operation. It's a trick. It's all rigged. But who's rigging it ultimately? In this case, it's Northrop Grumman. And media. And,
you can also. Well, then you can start tracing that back up to the
Bank for International Settlements, and, the United Nations, the Federal Reserve Bank. Yeah,
the usual suspects.
The usual suspects. But again, they have a cohesive unit. They have a military operation. They have a Hollywood operation. They have a music industry operation. Where were the protests here in Richmond? They weren't, because Ray Von Owen gathered the crowds to cheer for him and to vote and to exercise their rights on American Idol here in Richmond. That was the important thing here in Richmond.
Vote, because you have to go out and vote for an American Idol. Don't worry, Baltimore got burned. Don't worry that this stuff is going on because what? Oh, there's an American. Oh, that celebrity's here, and
I know
he's here. Why didn't we go? I don't even remember.
Because I could probably go to karaoke at probably 10 different bars in Richmond and find folks that are equally as talented as Rayvon. That sounds like Trayvon. and like, okay, we get it. All right, distraction. Okay.
Pretty much. I mean,
And I don't give a shit. What do? Sing bad, shitty versions of like old like songs that were good before they were played out
Yeah.
over and over and over
Pretty
again?
much.
Quit it with your garbage. Your garbage is making the American public stupid. It's ridiculous. It's laughable. I laugh at it.
Well,
but anyway,
that's also part of their agenda, is to make the American public stupid, make us look stupid, so that when they take us over, it's like, so what? We used to be the best country around, best country anybody ever stole. By and large, for the most part, in the public eye. I won't get into all the details about all that, but now we're like what, 46th in press freedom, you know.
Oh my gosh!
And we have a First Amendment, but we're 46th in the world.
It's like,
think about it.
So what does that tell you? It tells you Congress is not in charge and the Constitution has been suspended. I watched CNN last night. Oh no, yeah, it was.
Sorry.
Well, you know, I watch all sorts of television shows. I watch all sorts of made-for-TV dramas, and I watch all of them. And I know from watching all sorts of different Zionist propaganda, from Seinfeld to the CNN coverage of the Baltimore Beltane ritual. I know that they connect the dots, and they have advertisers, and they have, like, you know, TV timeouts where it's like, hey, wait a second. I mean, remember we see like what was it, Claudia Rupsich from Channel 8, who was directing what was the fake guy, the cop that was Jamil Jeezy? Oh, yeah. Remember? He's like, he took my my bullhorn. Actually, it's Fletcher Volker's bullhorn. And he's like, he starts going like, all right, gather up, crowd. And Claudia Rupsich from Channel 8 goes, no, not yet. She starts messing with her camera, turns it around, make turns. Okay, now go. So it's like, we see it's scripted. It's a closed set. It's a closed set. So it's not real. It's real in the fact that there are really
and cut.
That's CNN. That's CNN News.
Yeah.
We've been behind the scenes at such rallies where the police are closing off the streets.
That one for the power plant, that there was 12 protesters and 62 police officers.
Right. You know what?
Well, for 12 people.
So here's...
And most of them were media.
Right.
So, I mean, and if it takes that many police to control that few people, they've already lost.
I know.
They've already lost. End of story.
But they did exactly as one would think, because that's how we attack them, because they have to do this. If we, you know, even though that was total COINTELPRO, you know, controlled by media event, controlled by Glenn Bessa, right, to actually deflect, you know, the momentum against the North Anna nuclear power plant and accept the status quo, and even accept, you know, another reactor on an active earthquake fault line from an earthquake damaged tritium leaking power plant that is killing people by the dozens weekly in Louisa County.
And since it's not doing a good enough job, they want to put another one in. So,
right,
it's not doing it on the same area. Well, what is it, like? I think 70% of them are all located on fault lines, right, or in hazard zones.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
North Anna, the year before the earthquake, was only rated the fifth most dangerous, as far as being in danger of an earthquake, you know, doing what already happened. So it already happened on this earthquake fault line. So what's Dominion Power's response? What's Tom Farrell's response and the kikes that pull his strings? They want to up the ante, and they want to put another nuclear power plant on that active earthquake fault line where there is tritium leaking from the earthquake damaged nuclear power plant into the drinking water at 3 times the EPA standards.
Yeah.
And we have filed complaints with the NRC. They have conducted an internal investigation into this where, we said, oh, the NRC and NRC agent Hannah is nothing but a PR officer for Dominion Power. And we filed that complaint. And he got very aggressive towards myself after I got done doing television interviews with 4 different television stations. He got very aggressive towards me, and I filed a complaint with the NRC because the NRC is supposed to be investigating this body, but the NRC, again, Pentagon.
Right.
Again,
the Pentagon's going to investigate the Pentagon, and they're going to find out they did nothing wrong and everything was fine.
Who gives the NRC power? They say it's the Congress, but who is it really? The IAEA. Who gives them the power? The United Nations. Who does according to the Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, the former Secretary of Defense, who gives the authority to the United States military? The UN and NATO. What does the Constitution? What does the Constitution of the United States say?
Yeah, I didn't read that in there.
It says that it's not the UN and NATO that dictate what the United States military does. It is the representatives of the people, the servants of the people in the Congress. And the Secretary of Defense is saying something very unconstitutional in front of the body that has the constitutional authority to say,
no, you're
Sergeant at Arms, lock him up for violations of his oath to uphold the United States Constitution. But what we're telling you is they don't mean any of it. They're all just liars. They're all murderous killers because they swear an oath on this document to uphold this document, and this document says never swear an oath to anything.
Right.
So they don't mean anything that they say. They only want to make you their slaves. Who's the new Secretary of Defense? Ash Carter. What was the warning as soon as Ash Carter became Secretary of Defense? Watch out for false flag attacks. Watch out for false flag operations. What is Jade Helm, Glenn?
False flag operation to bring in the PSYOP to put us all under martial law.
Did we see martial law over the weekend? Broadcast live.
No, I didn't see martial law. I saw an extension of what we already had for 20 fucking years, where we've already been under martial law.
Right. Okay.
It's not martial law coming in. It is expanding on the previous setup that was already there.
Okay.
So they're just now making it more naked and in your face, and if you're not seeing it,
it's a hard tyranny,
right for your
not
fucking
a soft
ass.
tyranny.
Yeah,
it's becoming
it's starting
a hard
to go
tyranny.
hard.
So they'll go like as long as they can. They'll snatch up folks off the street, and then they'll let them go and say sorry.
Or they'll hide them and
they'll hide them.
Some of them they'll let most of them go.
Let most of them go, but that's the warning. This is coming.
Right. Some of them will go to black sites, like in Chicago, that was already laid out, and like Guantanamo, like black sites that are around the nation, that they'll just put a bag over your head, rendition your ass, you're gone, boop, and then they go, and people, that's just a conspiracy theory. Don't worry about it. It ain't happening.
But it is happening.
And then when it happens to your ass, figure it out.
I mean, it has been happening. There have been a lot of tyrannical.
Well, they had it on CNN. The
federal, regional,
the dude
and
standing out in the street
in the United States.
Well, the dude was standing out in the street. The Humvee comes up, big commotion, and he's gone. Where'd he go? And then a couple days later, then he was let out because it was like.
And then he got arrested again last night.
Oh, he did. Same guy.
Same guy.
So
there you go. Just like the same guy got arrested a couple times at the Bilderberg, where that was full of actors, but not everybody.
But saying
actor.
This is not going to happen. This won't happen. This never happened. Ask the American Indians if it happened. Ask the Japanese during World War II that were put in the concentration camps in America if it happened. It doesn't happen. Well, I've got documents. 7277? Is that it? 7277? I don't have the note down there. It's been in effect since 1961. It said that they're going to take the guns. They're going to confiscate everything.
I started reading that last night, Glenn. Yeah, that was real interesting. 1961.
and the public law that's on the books that says they're going to do it.
Right, but that's not law. That's not law.
I understand this, but
right.
But it's still, they had that statute written down that says this is what they're going to do.
It was like instructions for Congress.
Only problem is they're about 15 years right now behind.
Well,
because this was supposed to be around 2000 that this came in.
Yeah.
We pushed it back 15 years. I'm trying to push it back forever and say fuck
It's
you.
Gotta be until everybody gives up their guns. Like, the people is gonna have. Well, I mean, I never know. I know it's not gonna happen in my lifetime. That's for sure, because like, there you go. I mean, it's pretty much all laid out there. I know that not everybody, and the people included, are not going to give up their guns in my lifetime. And I plan on being around for a good long time, but in case I'm not, in my lifetime, the people will not give up their guns, and I'll be around for a good long time, and a lot of folks that oppose us, they won't be around for very much longer, and I mean, that's just a fact. That's happening right in front of our faces. But and that goes for government officials and so forth. But we I mean, 1961. It's written in fairly ambiguous wording, but when you read it carefully, you can't read it in any other way other than the disarmament of all others other than military. Like, and it doesn't give out like, oh, how are the folks gonna just like say, hey, we're gonna throw our guns all in a big bonfire? Yeah, bonfire. It doesn't say like that the military is gonna have to carry this out by pointing bigger guns at folks with smaller guns.
Well, the military that they are talking about is the UN Army, not the U.S. Army.
Well, that's already evident. Right. Anything that's the U.S. Army is now the UN Army, because we have evidence on video.
And turning the police into the new military force under the UN is also in the documents.
Right, and it's like it's already happened, and the Senate has accepted that.
Yeah.
So I do want to get into do you want to get into some specific connections maybe between the JADE HELM?
You said you had some stuff, so go ahead.
I do think that's a good segue into the kind of occult and esoteric aspects of these martial law scenarios. And granted, Glenn and I were talking, and I will definitely preface my statement beforehand saying this is a component. It's an important component, but it's only a component, and I know that it's the one that is most easily, brushed aside
and
too.
Brushed aside, yes.
Visible and brushed aside.
I don't disagree. We had this discussion before we went on air. I don't disagree with what you said. It's just that people focus on that and make that the onus of what's going on. And it's only the show, the beard.
I say it's the proof. I say it's the verification.
I disagree on that, but I'll agree to disagree on that. But that's
okay.
I mean, go ahead with
what I'm saying is that the martial law in Baltimore is a psyop, and that we kind of laid it out, thanks to Glenn's video production and thanks to Press TV in Tehran, the only international news organization that is live on the air, having the militia, the rightful authority in the United States, broadcasting live about this ongoing martial law military psyop
from Iran.
From Iran.
Yeah,
I mean, we're broadcasting live from.
I got to go to Iran to get freedom now. It's psychological.
Right. Oh yeah. So okay, we're sitting in the south side of Richmond.
Armpit of hell. Yeah.
Right. Okay, and we're broadcasting as like our forefathers mandated. As part of the militia, we're very well armed here, and we are also both from Maryland, and we're broadcasting, and instead of being able to speak to the people through some sort of domestic, news agency. The truth has to come from Tehran. Not that there's any. I mean, and I'm not even doing
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with Tehran.
Other than what the hell?
It's exactly the opposite of what everybody thinks in their false narrative. They think Iran is the bad guy. Iran doesn't have any nukes. Who has the nukes? Israel? Who's bombing out countries? Iran's not bombing out countries. Who's bombing out countries? Saudi Arabia. Iran didn't have anything to do with 9/11. Did Israel and Saudi Arabia? Oh yeah, it was pretty much only them, with some traitors inside the current traitorous criminal U.S. government. So what's the problem with Iran? Iran's the only one that's exposing this stuff.
Yeah, that's the problem with them.
I should say that's Iran, like, it's not the entity, but I'm saying a government financed international news agency financed by the Islamic Republic of Iran. I got no problem with any kind of Republican government, and that's why I want to get into the symbolism. And I think that this is a good segue, since we're talking about republicanism, and republicanism, not the Republican Party, which is a freaking every leader.
Not the fascist crap that they've got.
I'm a Democratic Republican, like Jefferson is a Democratic Republican, so I can say I'm in favor of some form of democracy. Well, I'm a Republican because the word Republican means,
for the Republic.
Oh, well, it also, and what is a republic? It's a government run by sovereigns.
Right.
So a republic is a government of sovereigns. So I got no problem if to recognize, your sovereignty, as long as you recognize my sovereignty. That's the basis of a republic. That's what we have here. That's a republic. We're all sovereign. We all have sui juris. We all practice the common law. We all have God-given rights. What's wrong with that? Our enemies think everything's wrong with that, because what are they doing all the time? What is they're only working for at all times? To enslave us and to take away our God-given rights. That's the only thing that they do. Okay, so that's why I'm saying fall of the Republic. Fall of the Republic symbolism. This is the 50 Shades of Freddie Gray and the fall of the Republic symbolism. 50 Shades of Freddie Gray and the fall of the Republic symbolism. Okay, so let's start off by going down the fall of the Republic line, and we'll talk about the fact that the officers were named. And 2 of the officers had first or last names. 2 of the 6, I should say, 33%, had first or last names that included Caesar and Nero. So we all know with the, we'll tie into this, and please follow along if you're able to, and please attempt to if this is a little confusing. If you're able to, you'll be able to figure it out and do this anytime you see these psyop rituals taking place.
Which is every day now.
Stagecraft.
Yeah.
Well,
stagecraft.
If you walk into a courtroom, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Okay? If you walk on a closed movie set, it's the same concept. If you film a reality television show, it's the same concept. Okay. So we've got that. So it's April 29th is the anniversary of the LA riots, where there were a lot of burning in South Central Los Angeles. Racial issue, racial divide, right. Black and white, that'll fall into the gray. So, fall of the Republic also, the city is burning. There was some insurance fraud we saw with some churches involved with their operation. We saw the mass advertising for CVS Pharmacy. That was one of the staging areas where the media and camera crew would set up, where the producers would set up, because they would catch the producers. It's not just the camera, and a reporter. There are producers out there while everybody's, oh my God, the police are running over there, and then they show a producer. He's just calmly texting something, because it's acting.
Calling the next scene.
The next scene, directing, communicating with the police, communicating with with the authorities, communicating with the producers,
with the media,
with the media, of course. So they canceled America's Pastime in Baltimore this weekend for the past 5 days. Okay, the historical significance between the Baltimore Orioles, and not just a baseball hat with a smiling cartoon bird or a 1954 American League team. We're talking about the Baltimore Orioles since right after the Civil War. That is a very significant thing. And we all know baseball is just a Masonic ritual in itself. But they call it the national pastime. What do they say? As American as baseball and apple pie.
Mom.
Okay, Mom, apple pie. Okay.
Baseball, yeah.
Okay, so you have to be birthed in order to be like an American. Your mother has to be like birthed inside the United States. So we'll go with some more symbolism. And so I'm wearing my KA shirt, and because that's like Ka, the soul, and because I'm America. I'm American, all that stuff. So you have to be birthed. So, that's a guarantee. You wouldn't be here. So the next thing is what? Baseball. So the next thing that signifies something is American is baseball. So the city is getting ready to burn down. Fires are starting. We were live on television when this was going on, when they called the baseball game, when they were shutting the gates at Camden Yards in Baltimore. So we saw it live, shutting the gates on the national pastime. Closed for business. First time in Major League Baseball history. The next day, played to a crowd of 0 folks. Empty stadium. And then they got to move out of town to play the rest of the games, according to the usurpers that are, calling the shots for Major League Baseball.
That started the stuff to begin with.
That started the stuff to begin with, because the police started the whole thing, obviously. They set the whole thing up. They did it just like Ferguson, agent provocateur, starting fires. So again...
Started it while kids were in school.
While kids were in school. And who did they blame it on?
The kids.
High school kids. Come on, man. Are you joking? We got to shut down, the city because some unruly high school kids? You got to throw out habeas corpus and throw out 135 or 140 years of Major League Baseball history for rowdy Baltimore high school students? What does that say about your schools? Man, and you know what was better? What most calm? Was when the kids were out of school. So you may as well, let the kids out of school every day, because it must be the schools that are setting them up to, and who runs the schools? Who's in the schools? The cops. The cops are pulling the strings on all this. And what are the cops? Child molesters, dumbasses, agent provocateurs, FBI agents, because all the officers in Baltimore City and every other one of the independent and non-independent cities in the United States is an FBI agent. And guess what the FBI is? Oh, just some faggot in KA decided that he was going to be a control freak. And so what? He grabbed some other guys from this organization that goes back way further than when J. Edgar Hoover got involved in it. Started saying, yeah, we'll start usurping the Constitution. But they didn't have any rights, because our authority goes much higher. If you think your authority comes from the Kappa Alpha Order, which is where the FBI started out of, as a higher ranking member of the order, I tell all you FBI agents what I already told you on video camera. What did I tell Michael Morehart? All the cops and, blockheaded on the base Masons know that. I'm not on the base Masons. I like watching baseball to see all the other Masons who go from one base to another, but I operate on a higher plane. I'm a different kind of builder of the mind. So we figured this stuff out, and we're going to expose it. So they canceled the American pastime, symbolic of the fall of the American Republic. So what happened when the Republic was falling, when Rome burned? Caesar.
No, Nero.
He was a Caesar.
Well, yeah, Caesar.
Nero
yes.
specifically. Okay. Caesar fiddled, Nero fiddled, depending on whatever translation, of the popular, narrative, myth, or actual fact. Maybe it was used back in the day. Maybe it was already an old, adage when it became exclusive to Nero or exclusive to Caesar. But it's just symbolic. Okay, everything's burning up. What are we going to do? Baltimore Symphony. Publicized everywhere. 60 Minutes. PBS. Weeks before. Publicizing again. Feminist agenda. Divide and conquer, saying, oh, she's the first woman conductor. Woman conductor, woman conductor. Okay, so she's like all of a sudden like on everybody's mind. Then comes through cancel a baseball game. Baltimore's burning. Play the fiddle. Free concert by the Baltimore Symphony. And it's not like that many folks showed up. Only 200 folks showed up. I love classical music. If folks know me well, they'll know one thing about me now is I love baseball and I love classical music. That's pretty much all I listen to, is besides information that's coming out and news and intelligence, is classical music and Orioles baseball. That's pretty much it for me. So, it's all figured out. Fall of the Republic symbolism. Caesar, Nero, Baltimore burning, playing the fiddle, free concert by the Baltimore Symphony. So now we'll transition into the 50 Shades of Freddie Gray. So we'll talk about like what most folks are familiar with here, and that is the Gray State movie.
Right.
Okay. Now I started watching the Gray State movie, and I didn't like the direction it was going because it seemed like a lot of misinformation to me. It seemed like a lot of what I would consider counterintelligence agents being quoted and basically taking our message and subverting it. But that being said, I'm aware of the movie The Gray State. I'm aware of the reports of the execution of the Gray State movie creator, producer, and his family. Immediate family, daughter and wife. Yeah. Okay, so I'm aware of these things, and I'm also aware that this is somewhat a known thing, even outside of the conspiracy circle, that it might even be more well known outside of the conspiracy circle or at the edges of it than inside, because I saw that it was a movie that had a decent budget and that had actors and was included in Hollywood movie reviews and
stuff.
and the official like database of movies. So it's there, it's out there, and this is the story of the initiation of something called the Gray State, which is martial law, and the initiation of the transferring of Americans to FEMA camps. So follow along, please, because I'm hoping everybody's. If you think that there's a place where we can review, but I'd like to move forward a little bit and say, okay, that the victim that initiated this whole thing, and the words and associated with the name that kept being repeated was Freddie Gray, and we discussed this earlier, yeah. But I think it bears mentioning because of the childlike mental state of many Americans through design, and through very careful and very insidious and clever programming. The American public is mentally in a state of arrested development, and they can, through the trauma-based programming, they can initiate even back to the adolescent mind state for the American masses, so that they will follow along with these simple color revolutions, which they associate and use through baseball games, and there's colors they like to use like orange and gray.
And the symbols.
And the symbols.
I didn't disagree with all that. I just said people get distracted.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
They follow those rabbit trails too far, and it's like you wind up in another country.
It's not a trail to follow. It's just a trail to be aware of and to utilize.
Right.
That's what I'm saying about everything. These things are not something that is... It's never this or that. It's always this and that and the other. That's the way.
It's all quantum. It's
all quantum.
0 and 1. It's
right.
all the things in between 0 and 1.
Right. So you know, yeah, it's all a duality. Any sort of intellect that one has, it has to be divided and it has to be separated, even though it's all just one. So that is why the holy book is called the Bible, because it's a paradox, which is a Bible, and it's a dichotomy, which is a paradox, which means it's like there's contradiction. So, and folks got to be...
They need the contradiction in order for it to work.
Right.
If there's no contradiction... Right. You can't have black without white. You can't have...
Right, okay.
You know.
So the gray symbolism, there are 6 officers charged. Three, you know, nobody's black or white, because, like, we're, you know...
We're not the same color
We're
here.
not even the same color here, but pinkish or whatever. There were what folks would call 3 black individuals and 3 white...
Caucasianoids, yeah.
But we got to call them black and white for, you know, to go down there.
Right, exactly.
Kill Whitey... Kill Blackie. Okay. So like, okay, that, what do you get? That's either the black and white Masonic symbolism of the duality symbolism, and also when it's all mixed together, like we're talking that it's all an operation, even the esoteric symbolism, the most, you know, adept occultists are inside the Pentagon, not just inside the Vatican or, you know, the rabbis in Tel Aviv or the, you know, whatever, the Duke of Kent, who's the head of British Masonry, who is clearly a Habsburg Rothschild, just like the rest of the occultist, fake, you know, British royal family, that it is just all coming together of the black and the white makes the gray, okay? And Freddie Gray's spinal cord was severed. That's very violent. That's a very violent image, okay? So what's significant about that is the thing that carries the message that controls all actions and self-control, especially, is the gray matter, which goes up and down the spine. And what carries that? The quote-unquote gray cells. Okay, so we got the gray, you know, and that has to do, research gray matter, research gray cells. See if you come up with the same synopsis, comprehending all of this coming together and this all being occult symbolism and what I refer to as black occult synchronicity, you know, black occult Jungian, you know, magic directed synchronicity.
Yeah, it's definitely dark magic.
Yeah, and I say it's magic when somebody thinks that a paper bill with like crazy symbols on it is worth, you know, food, you know, or guns or anything really, other than like maybe something to put up on the wall. You know, so, well, not even that, because, like, something to put up on the wall is much more valuable than a freaking piece of green paper.
Yeah.
So, the gray matter is severed, which means the loss of control and the loss of life. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the fall of the Republic symbolism. So then we'll get into what also came out this day, which was the Beltane weekend, which gets into the ritual fires of Beltane.
Walpurgis knocked and
Thank you, Glenn, for adding that in, because I was remiss in missing that. But it's a lot of, you know, burnt sacrifice ritual season. It's May Day, you know. It's like fertility ritual to the goddess and, all that, except for their idea of the goddess is like, they're attempting to harness the goddess, but like, it's not working, and like they're blaspheming against everything, and they're dishonorable. So moving on from the fact that they're doing these tricks in front of everyone and they're dishonorable, and like ritual is all right. Ritual maybe is necessary to people, but you know what? It can't be a dark occult ritual where how many people died? Like 10 people died in Baltimore through like violent means while all this was going on, and they said this was to keep Baltimore safe.
I've heard different numbers. I mean, I've heard up to 100. So,
well, okay, I bet that's more accurate. I bet that this was used to freaking take some folks out. Well, yeah. I bet the assassination squads were used just like in New Orleans.
I'm sure there are probably black ops squads all over the place, wiping people out right and left. I mean.
So lots more sacrifice then.
Yeah.
Lots more sacrifice, and the enemy, the American public, the Republic, is the ones attacked. The ones punished, the American Republic. The American Republicans, the Democratic Republicans, that say, hey, we vote, we want to stay out on the street. Oh, well, your vote doesn't matter because martial law has been initiated. The gray state has been initiated. And here's another thing that was like, maybe, I was having some technical difficulties and I wanted to get this out because I kept going like, oh man, they keep running this Gray joke. It's like, what happened to Freddie Gray? When you wonder about something like, that's what, a gray area of things? It's like, oh, ha ha ha, very funny, very funny. That's why it was Freddie Gray and not probably the 115 guys after him, that were killed by whoever, the military structure, because the military structure is the police.
Calling it that because the police are already militarized. You can't distinguish them. So, and they're even now, well, like when we were at the that illegal DUI site, I can't answer to anybody unless they have stripes on their shoulder. Well, what civilian says that?
But yeah,
I mean, think about it. No, you're waiting for somebody in command to tell you something. Well, somebody in command did tell you something. Several people in command told you something.
I want to tell some folks about some esoteric and occult symbolisms that we both got on right here, because again, we'll tie it back.
I'm a graybeard people,
and tell you where our authority comes from. And the thing is, like, back in the day when this whole thing started, nobody shaved. And then, like, a lot of our ancestors, they came into Maryland and Virginia through, like, Ireland and England and Germany and Switzerland and the Netherlands and Austria and maybe a few French or whatever. But, like, then we started going, okay, we all grow beards. And then some of our faction started shaving them off. And that was the Amish and the Church of the Brethren. And they said, we want to shave it off because the mustache is associated with the military. So we keep our beards complete and intact because we're the militia. And so we're like the military everywhere, all the time. That's what we are, because that's why the military, they have to like pay them. It's like their career. Like they have to, close down Walmarts so they can have these shit-ass little dumbass 18 and 19-year-old American wastes of oxygen like come in and occupy, our land, and a lot of them, man, they're not from America. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for somebody to get quote unquote citizenship in the United States if they join the military? Here? Yeah.
No, if you're not born here, they hand it to you at the border.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm saying that they're filling the United States military with a bunch of folks that can barely speak English. And then they come into our neck of the woods and they think that they are something that they are not, which is in control. You see, we said it, but, the folks in Baltimore, they got to do this big stagecraft, because in Richmond, when a new police chief comes in, it's not like they come out on the street and go like, people of Richmond, get off the street. There's a new FBI Fed. There's a new dumb pig called Durham, and it is true. They call him Durham because he's a dumb pig. There's a new sheriff in town, and get off the street. Actually, what happens in Richmond is we go in with our cameras and our guns, and they say, you can't film in here. And I'm like,
can't stand.
It's in their office. It's on their property, which is our property. It's their police headquarters. And we go in with our guns, and we tell them, fuck you, eat shit, give us your guns, and we put it up on YouTube. And guess what? We mean it. We mean it. So, for the occult symbolism section of the program, I digress, but I do know that there's all sorts of different methods used, and we require all of these things, even though all these crazy mind control machines and all these, poisons that the military is spraying out of airplanes and putting into our water stream and patrolling our park nature trails. I've seen it. Don't tell me it's not happening. Like, I won't even address that. It's there. We got pictures of it.
Yeah, there's
video. So we got a message to you. Like, I mean, it is war. You guys don't conduct war. We conduct war. You haven't seen war. You don't understand war. We'll make you understand war. And we're doing it now, because a lot of you have already died untimely. And many of you know who we may be talking about. And I'm not going to say that I wish ill on anyone, but I do pray for my mission to be completed successfully. And I have multiple missions, and the first mission hasn't been successfully completed, and it involves warfare, and we're engaged in it right now.
I've been in it since I got out of the Army, because they lied to me in the Army. Well, they didn't lie to me. They told me exactly what was going to happen. I said, no, you're lying. And then, whoa, you know what? They weren't lying.
Yeah, they weren't lying. They certainly weren't lying. But what I am saying, and I'm a man and I am one of the people, is that we've got all these tricks figured out. And we're gonna start directly communicating with folks again. We're gonna start directly communicating with the folks like the governor of Maryland. We're gonna start communicating with. I'm gonna start communicating with the folks in my hometown, because they allegedly sent at least 13 soldiers paid for with Washington County, Maryland, or Hagerstown, Maryland tax dollars, for what? To be like a extra in a TV show?
Yeah, pretty much.
That is basically carrying out treason? I mean,
just stand there and look good for the camera.
I've been on closed sets on CNN. We've been on CNN closed set, ABC, Fox News, all this. We've been on a lot of news closed sets, a lot of live coverage closed sets. I've been on some DreamWorks closed sets, movie closed sets. They're very similar. All of them are pretty much the same. When I took shits in the senatorial bathroom during the filming of the movie Lincoln, and when I shuffled through the papers of my servants in the Virginia General Assembly and the Senate, it was not much different, other than maybe nicer surroundings, than when I'm standing out in front of the Richmond City Police headquarters and there are douchebaggy, jackbooted cops on motorcycles blocking off the street, and dim-witted misinformation blondes reporting live from a closed set. I mean, man, that's like 12 News. They say locally is the number one news. And one of the things that they do all sorts of things. They attempt to be everything to everyone, but they like that. They were going with that Fox News angle for a while there with all their blonde reporters. And it's ridiculous because we catch it live and we say, oh, let's get into this aspect. That Baltimore movie, who was it financed by? George Soros.
Yep.
And how is George Soros in the news this week? They said he owed $7 billion in taxes.
Yeah.
Okay,
guess
so
what you ain't gonna see.
Okay, I guess his checks to Black Lives Matter are gonna bounce then. I guess his financing of the Rockefeller Family Fund and the Tides Foundation and
I wish they would. I actually wish they would.
Oh yeah, and his financing of United for Peace and Justice and all the left-wing socialist movements and what's that, the Answer Coalition and Code Pink and all those other things, all those and the neo-Nazi groups and the Tea Party that he finances. I guess all those things are gonna go bankrupt because George Soros, who paid for the Baltimore PSYOP on behalf of his other, compatriots in the Zionist International Banking Cartel, because it's not like it's his money. I mean, like, he just has access to it. I mean, like, it's his money, like, more than it's, like, our money.
Yeah, I ain't saying none of it.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, it's misleading to say, oh, it's just George Soros, or Black Lives Matter, it's just George Soros. But it's also misleading to say George Soros owes $7 billion in taxes, and George Soros finances every one of these counterintelligence, COINTELPRO, controlled opposition left and right organizations that further these PSYOPs. These PSYOPs couldn't occur, as we've documented, and maybe we can get back into the Fusion Center and another thing with the clergy response team, because they were the only ones that CNN was listening to. And I will say, with this being a resident of the city of Richmond, with only one exception, and that's Pastor Rob Scarborough, if somebody tells me they're a fucking pastor in the city of Richmond, I will tell you, it's nice to meet you, you fucking dim-witted crook, stealing from those who are only slightly less stupid than yourself. Yeah. That's how I will nice to meet you, crook. If you tell me you're a pastor, because who runs the city government? Fucking pastor!
Yeah.
Dwight Jones. And what business, what expansion business is he in? Well, he's in the construction business, because what's he in the business of construction? Constructing. Well, he and his son, not the one that's in jail for armed robbing of banks around the Carytown section of Richmond, but Derek, not Dwight Jr., they build huge projects, jails, and mega churches. Because the biggest jailers of the so-called black community are the pastors. Yep. The clergy response team. They're the ones that are controlling all the protesters. They're the ones that tamp down all the anger when the police cover up murders. They're the ones that get into the brains of the murder victims' families. They're the ones that pump them for information and then leave them high and dry. Who do we have that fits that bill here in Richmond?
I don't know. Charles Willis?
Charles Willis!
Yeah.
The fucking pig! Charles Willis! And the badge bunnies that run this. And you know what? I mean, I laugh every freaking day because I go online and I check the pulse. And you know who the only folks that do not want cops, or the leadership at least of the cops and the government in front of firing squads? The cops and the government. Because some of the rest, they don't want that to happen. But they're afraid to even say that in earshot of us. which is a good thing for them.
Yeah.
It is. Because what we can do to somebody, I mean, again, we've exposed them. Every one of these protest groups, it's run by pigs, feds, and cops. We have proof. It's on video. It's on video that this shit's all staged. Phil Willeto. Fed. Fed. You know what? I mean, we went on Press TV, 2 times this week?
Well, yeah, the past week, yeah.
Yeah, the past week. Okay. Past week, yeah. This is for the week ending Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, so we'll just go, okay.
Okay.
Recently.
There are lots of feds on Press TV. And you'll see their misinformation. And you know what? They like certain angles. And like the angle, there's like convenient angles that all these socialists are using. Communists are using. National socialists are using. Isn't that the funniest thing?
Yeah.
They say the opposite of socialist is national socialist. Isn't that the ultimate little trick? And guess who runs both? Jews. I don't want to call them Jews. We'll call them Ashkenazi. And we'll say, like, you know, all nationalities are like in on this, but at the very top, it's like the Ashkenazi. Like the Ashkenazi, what they would call the Ashkenazi elite. But I won't give them those names. I'll give them the name the Public Enemy's #1. Thugs. The State of Israel. The Rothschild Zionists. The dark occultists. The folks who print the money, the folks who control the algorithmic computer programs that monetize debt,
the folks think they own the world,
the folks who have the underground military bases and are segueing into continuity of government.
Yeah, the continuity of government. They started cable splicer and fucking
explain what that is, please, because I don't even know exactly.
Cable splicer, it's in the documents here. It's actually
this is on the notes for the show.
It's real complex. It ties in with basically they're going to use dissidents from out of the country to come in, overrun our country through the borders, bringing in Cloward and Piven, where they're driving down the economy, they're driving everything down. They're going to bring in martial law to establish the peace and bring us into re-education camps, where they're going to re-educate us into the socialist, communist way. And if we don't accept, they're going to kill us.
Protocols of Elders of Zion. When I say socialist, I could be saying Ashkenazi.
It goes back to Rome and Babylon and back then. So, it's not a new world order.
Right.
It's the same old world order with a new face on it, just trying to pretty it up for the masses. I mean, in 2012, I believe it was, there was in the news about Obama's brown shirts, where they're teaching the Boy Scouts to take out the veterans and to disarm the veterans. It's a good way to get all the kids killed.
Yeah, it's a good way to get kids killed. It really is.
I mean, all that is just going, well, we're just going to send these kids to get slaughtered up against a bunch of veterans.
Oh, yeah.
No,
that's
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the veterans aren't going to fire first because they're not going to want to kill kids. And they know this. That's why they're trying to bring this in with all this trickery.
Yeah, they got to use trickery.
And get the dumbed down troglodytes to follow them.
And they got to do it incrementally too.
And they will. And they did.
They're doing it.
They've been doing it, well, since 1961. They've had it on the book, just on the books, and this goes back to 1900s. I mean, the eugenics movement, all this shit is all tied together. And there's no proof. Wow. There's no proof. I got all the documents to prove this.
How about we even go into when they change our laws, when they say...
Well, they said standing army. They say it right in there.
Right, but then they go on to say, the most important thing is that a citizen of the United States, which is what they're calling all of us now, they're not calling us American people anymore. They're not really calling us Americans. They're saying the citizens. Citizens, because the citizens...
Via the, 14th and 16th Amendment?
Right. They say, the citizens, thank you for citing this document, because it's all in there. If you read this document at first, it says, oh, the people ordain the government, and like all power is vested and derived in the people, and there's a continuity of power that is beneficial to Republicans who set this rule book forward for their servants. However, when the servants attempt to use word tricks by saying, hey, if you're a citizen, you're under the jurisdiction of the United States government. So if you're under the jurisdiction of the United States government, what does that mean? It means you're a slave to the United States government? That the United States government can tell you anything, and that you have to, abide by the United States government? Okay, I'm not a citizen. And
I'm not.
Good luck attempting to enforce your rules on me.
Citizen is a repugnant word to me.
Citizen is disgusting. Yeah. Because if one is under the jurisdiction of another, that's fine. You know what? We can have citizens, and citizens, that might even be, I would prefer, Republicans over citizens. I'm
anarchist. I believe nobody should rule over anybody else. So,
well, I mean, ultimately, republicanism, if you carry that to its most basic form, I would say it's exactly the same thing. If everything is boiled down, then we have no problem. When we get into situations where we're parsing words and we're discussing whether it is legal or it is not legal, and as far as what the masses are getting, there's not even a question of whether it is legal or not to shut down an entire city. Every time a city, and we'll go through 3 examples, Ferguson shut down, the media applauds it. And actually, it is the narrative that the shutdown actually works. Oh, it worked. Oh, no mistake. It worked. This is how to maintain order. Go in, clear it out, make hundreds and hundreds of arrests, disappear and kill lots of folks, and then say, all's done here. Everything's back to normal. All the idiots can go back to their dodgeball games and drinking beer at the local pubs, and can go back to watching their Orioles game and so forth and so on. So problem solved. Only you lost everything. You lost everything. You lost every freaking thing.
Plus, now I guarantee you there'll be an increased presence of the police and military on the street. Even though there is no more problem.
Right.
But because of the problem reaction solution,
where's the withdrawal?
They have it. We're withdrawing. They said they're withdrawing. They said they're withdrawing, and they're backing the curfew down. But they'll still be there.
When are they going to face charges for suspending habeas corpus?
Exactly. I mean,
so maybe that's our next thing.
Or fuck that. What about posse comitatus? I mean,
well, I mean, okay. We also, it's like,
what about the Third Amendment? Stationing fucking troops in your house. They now say, well, you have no Fourth Amendment. You have no Third Amendment.
That's funny.
They can put people in your house.
Thanks for bringing that up, because the military is out on the street. And there's a curfew. They don't live there. Like we said, they got folks coming in from Hagerstown and many other places.
Anne Arundel and surrounding counties around the area.
Right. All over Maryland, though. Okay, they got folks coming in from all over Maryland because they say it's a Maryland operation. Totally unconstitutional as far as Maryland Constitution. We'll get into that, online. I'll probably write some documentation up. We can't cover all this stuff. Yeah, that's the problem. We can't cover all this
stuff. My show notes, I have something like about 30 links here at least.
Right.
Yeah. And all these are PDF files of full documents that are this thick. So
we're asking folks to, like, come on. Get a little bit more cognitively with it. Okay, so we've established...
If I'm pointing out a document, it must exist, okay?
Right.
Especially when I go to the UN and I pull it off the UN website.
Right.
But it's not proof? Well, I don't want to see what your fucking proof is then.
Yeah. So they're saying this is a state operation, and it's not Obama doing this, because this would have brought forward all sorts of other stuff. So they were very adept at doing this. And they were also a show of force. So they shut down the city, and who's on the street? Actors, paid actors. So it's like they're closing the city down because what is the purpose? Well, they're running advertisements while this
they
stuff
have to have a closed set.
Right. So just like you said, it's a closed set. So they're running advertising, and they're using these folks' neighborhood, but the folks aren't getting any compensation, and they're forced to stay inside their own houses. So what is actually the National Guard enforcing? Like at a monetary level, they seem like they're enforcing like some television revenue. Because we're talking about like the revenue that comes from even the advertising on the YouTube channel that we're going to put this video up on. We're talking about Press TV,
and it only goes to certain
talking about
people.
me, right?
Yeah, it doesn't go to the community. Doesn't go. It all gets
and
funneled
they're held
to,
hostage. They can't leave their house, and there are reporters who are getting paid. So what I'm saying is like one way of looking at it could be that the police are just extras in a television show that at its base level is financing itself through commercial revenue and advertising on live TV. And my proof of that is last night's coverage on CNN, where CNN went live between 10 and 11 and ran reruns after that. So CNN 24/7 News allegedly went 10 to 11 live, curfew to 11. Everything happened. They had a post-game show where they interviewed analysts just like they do every night when we watch the Orioles game, or every night after the Monday Night Football game or the college NCAA basketball tournament. There's analysts and talking heads breaking it down, blah blah blah. And I heard one of the talking heads during the I guess 10-minute wrap-up period, following the and it's funny how all this stuff happens right in front of the camera, not while it's on an advertisement. Just funny how that happens. But the guy saying, because there was some lady who was a total like crisis actor saying, "Oh, I was arrested. I was waiting for a ride. I'm a citizen of the earth. I'm a human being. I can gaze out and wonder beneath the skies." Which, hey, I don't disagree with any of that except for like the citizen thing, And you don't have any jurisdiction over me. So, 10 minutes later, the wrap-up show. Legal analyst, FBI official says, "Oh no, you get your rights from the United States."
The United States government gives your rights.
And so this also is tying in exactly, and I saw some hands up, don't shoot yesterday, exactly with this offensive, this propaganda offensive that we have going on in the city of Richmond, but that I have seen elsewhere, and I'll name other regional places: Frederick County, Maryland; Frederick County, Virginia; Berkeley County, West Virginia, specifically Martinsburg, where there was a murder where cops unloaded 27 rounds into a unarmed individual simply walking down the street in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Okay, so we've named those places where we've seen similar police offensives where they're putting forward this thing where it's like, here's what you need to do. Basically, don't resist anything. Comply with everything.
Do what we tell you.
Do what we tell you to do. Complain in court. The court is where you complain. But what they're not telling you is the most important part is that these police are only road pirates who are given a license to kill. That has not changed, since this maybe who knows what happened in this alleged Freddie Gray incident, because we haven't seen it. What I do know is I talked to family members of a man called Daryl Beasley every now and again, and we work together to put out information where we have video, and Glenn's seen it, and a lot of folks in the media have seen it, or said they've seen it, where this guy is killed on video, and it's nothing but about 5 or 6 cops who are like, could be
Yeah,
charged with
I think
first
6.
degree murder.
About the same amount.
Right.
6. We'll go with 6. I counted about 6 on the video.
Every single one of these guys, it's like there couldn't be a more open and shut case of first degree murder. No individual should ever be convicted of first degree murder, and I should say, unless this case carried out by Petersburg police and Petersburg sheriff's deputies against Daryl Beasley. It's on video. Okay, so we don't have that with Freddie Gray, but we do have that with this Martinsburg case where 27 rounds are unloaded into an unarmed individual just walking down the street at like 10 o'clock in Martinsburg, West Virginia. 27 rounds. Man, that's a lot of vicious murderers in one place for 27 rounds to be unloaded into someone. I'll tell you one thing, for all you degenerate cops out there, if there's one amongst you that isn't a degenerate cop, I'll tell you, if I'm in that situation and I see, some dishonorable individuals that have come in path with me, there would not be 27 rounds unloaded into one man. There would be some rounds unloaded into some of the ones unloading the rounds into the unarmed individual. This stuff can't stand. This is wrong. It's wrong. And it's wrong. Where's the uproar? Where's the Maryland National Guard? And where are the riots when Ethan Roberts Saylor is choked out, the life choked out of him by Frederick County Sheriff and Police?
They only pick and choose what they
pick and choose because this guy's black and his last name's Gray.
Yeah.
If it even happened.
Well,
if the guy even died.
They push forth their own narratives. I mean, we know.
Right.
That.
We know they push forth.
And they picked some of these is like, okay, we'll go back to Rodney King. Okay, look at that. Okay. And then the man was a criminal. Michael, what's his face? Gray.
Freddie
Gray was a criminal. Michael Brown, criminal. It's like, why? Why are they
all narrative?
Yeah, all their narratives are
according to
we're pushing these criminals, and these criminals are making. But you all are criminals too.
I think this is part of those psyops that you're mentioning too, because again, what we know is that the CIA, the FBI, and other agencies have the right and do often plagiarize and even use the signature of the President of the United States of America without their knowledge or anything. And they can do that to anyone else that's down the chain of command on the fake surface level government. Because it's the shadow government and the shadow banking system that runs everything. And when one looks into the word shadow and one looks into the word government, that is the best description of New World Order, Zionist banking cartel, whatever you want to. You don't even have to call it those things. That's what they are specifically. But what we have is a shadow government. Like even in the city of Richmond, it's so provable on a surface level because the Economic Development Authority is is a private institution, and they're the ones that set the agenda for where the majority of the property of the taxpayers of Richmond go to. So most of the effort goes into the hands of the Economic Development Authority, which is controlled by something called Venture Richmond, and formerly it was called Richmond Renaissance. And basically what that is, and they have something like this in every town. It's an association of Chamber of Commerce, which is UN, Rotary Club, country clubs, all, corporate banking leaders, media type folks, and basically the ones that make the decisions for everyone else. The ones with the most money. So that's where it was like, that was like the thing in my mind, because like I treat this as a blessing to, get what I have to say out, because like there's so much information. But what I wanted to say and what I wish to say is that this is just a matter of, wealthy versus poor. This is the haves versus the have-nots, and this is all they want to continue that, and they want to maintain that. And like they make a joke out of like, oh, our police are, our heroes and stuff like that. That's just to keep them from, to do it, because they're not heroes. They're the worst. They're the worst. Yeah. There's nothing worse. I mean, because they're they beat their wives more than anyone else. They molest their children more than anyone else. They become judges. They become lawyers. They work with the prosecutors. They're the dumbest among it. They're the most violent and the most stupid, and that's the most dangerous combination. Violence and stupidity is a real bad combination, and that's what we have in the police.
Pretty much. I mean, we got the thugs in blue.
Road pirates.
Yeah, road pirates.
The most deadly street gang. How many...
thugs in blue.
Right. More Americans have been killed by police in the United States of America than Americans have been killed in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in a war zone.
Yes.
And they're the aggressors. Yeah. And guess what? The soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, for anyone that dies in that conflict, they're the most deserving of death. They are. Folks have to start looking at reality that way. When the United States military goes in and starts blowing up children and posing and pissing on the dead bodies of children and raping children and videotaping it, and even going in and doing anything, working with a puppet government, doing anything, even being a public relations official. If you die, you deserve it. And there should have been a lot more dead American soldiers over there than children, because you fucked up. You serve Satan if you serve the United States military. You serve the United Nations. Yeah. You serve the international banking cartel, but you certainly don't serve anything good. So don't fucking let anybody fool you when they fucking give you these awards like they give the little children. When they give you these medals like they do. Ooh, you're like a little fucking Boy Scout. You get a fucking medal. You know what Boy Scouts were when I was growing up? My brother was a Boy Scout, and now he works for the freaking Pentagon. So, and he's a lawyer. And before that, he worked for the credit card companies.
Yeah. Crook all the way around.
Well, he's like, hey, I'm materialistic.
Yeah, well, that's the people that they get that fiat currency, and oh my God, I got so much of it. I got a million of these pieces of little fiat.
I mean, he's up in Northern Virginia too, and his wife is she has a level 13 clearance in the Pentagon. So it's that's what I've heard, because they never talk about anything. Allegedly, this is the joke about what my brother allegedly did at the Pentagon. He was hired by the Obama administration to start giving trials to Guantanamo Bay detainees.
How's that going? Yeah. How's that going?
That was what was that? 7 years ago?
Yeah, I think
8
so.
years.
Yeah,
I think he was actually hired by the Pentagon during the transition. So before January of 08. I think he started end of the year 07. But I hear through the grapevine allegedly that he hates his boss, and then if you're then
turn him in.
Then turn him in, kill him.
See something, say something.
If you hate your boss, then guess what? Guess what? If you're my brother's boss at the Pentagon, and I don't really get along with my brother, but if you mess with any members of the Dorsey family through your treason, I will fucking kill you and everyone in your family. But that's only if need be. That's only if you cross a line and you make it necessary for the defense of my family. So, that's where we're at here. We're at this point, and there's hardly anybody else with us. And it's pretty pathetic. And I would like to say, if I was going to close on anything, I would just like to close on the fact that I'm just really disgusted by my fellow Americans. They really are, by and large, just a pathetic group of cowards. Specifically, only folks in the Pentagon and the structure. I mean, I've declared war on you, and like I said, you guys haven't seen war yet, and I should say, ye all haven't seen war yet, and it's coming your way. And yeah, we're gonna say exactly what we're gonna do before we're doing it, and we're going to always do it lawfully, because we can't do anything else. We can't be anything else except for lawful. That's the issue. Like, it's not an issue of, can Chris Dorsey, can he walk around with his shirt tail out and his gun on? Can Chris Dorsey sit where the media's sitting? I like to come back to that, because I want to tie this in and get this real straight with some folks, because I saw Steve Skinner and his I don't know, some human beings that are somehow associated with him in the grocery store the other day. And so I pulled out my camera and I videotaped him, just like I videotape Steve Skinner. When Steve Drew. It's real close, and it's real, like, right at the head. And so I'm sending all sorts of overt orders and covert orders, and I'm saying everything and I'm saying nothing. And this is what, take two?
I guess. Take two,
right? Okay. This is take two. Like, we're going through take two. Because this is now take three. Because this is real and it's not real. And I mean what I say, but I don't really mean what I say. And it doesn't matter whether I mean it or I don't mean it, because nobody can stop me from doing or saying exactly as I wish. And if done so, they're going to suffer consequences that are unimaginable to them. And so I think we have to get to this level, because when wars escalate, we always see the escalation of the occult and esoteric attacks, the magic and the warcraft, and the warlocks and the witches. They start going at each other. And the Dutch magician, we never travel anywhere without this. And so this is the King James Bible, and Maryland was founded by our ancestors. That's our property. Same with Virginia, and it was mainly the first crew that was in charge. And there, a lot of the crews that are in charge are one on top of the other, like the line of King James. That's the first wave of Americans. Maybe not the Puritans, but at least in our neck of the woods, we come from the line of James. That's the South Irish genotype, genome, haplogroup, and that's the true King of England, stemming from the High Kings of Ireland and Scotland. And just to segue that, we have folks, they don't look anything like us, that they say they're the fucking King of England. Those guys with the freaking huge hook noses, the Habsburgs, the Rothschilds. Look at the guy who runs the bank, called Jacob Rothschild, and look at the guy that they call the Duke of Kent, who's the head of Freemasonry. Is that the same guy?
I'd have to see the pictures.
It looks like the same guy to me. It's not really the same guy, but they are like doppelgangers. They're all related. There's these videos where
family resemblance be too hard to push around.
Oh my God, the family resemblance with these ugly scumbag pieces of white
also
trash.
they would change their last names and shit.
Oh,
to make it
yeah.
I'm not related to him, but
Yeah, like we can't even see this stuff like going on in real time. Hey, guess who runs the New York Stock Exchange? Larry Leibowitz. Guess who's on? You know, the guy who controls political left thought amongst the phony intelligentsia. John Leibowitz, but you know him as Jon Stewart, which is real funny because Stewart is the line. The steward line is the stewards of the throne. The true stewards. The stewards. So, what do? Again,
usurp,
change the name. So what do they say the Ashkenazi do? They like to change their names, especially to Irish names. Now, most folks think that Stuart is Scottish, but the Stuart line and the blood type of the Stuart, at least the Stuarts that were the royal family, is not that. It is the R-L21 South Irish haplogroup. So let's all get into that. They say they have divine rule. They say it's through bloodline. Let's see these Rothschilds and Habsburgs prove it. Let's see if they got that R-L21, because I think they got that J2 or that E1. See? We study all this stuff. We study it. Don't think you're getting any tricks on us. We know. We go back long enough to know we were around here before the United States was a country, so therefore, if we're the people, and we were here before the United States was formed, and when the United States was formed, every document says that we wrote the rules that control it, and that we could never be anything but over top of the government, serving as our, magistrate at every turn, only for the purpose of serving and protecting our property. How is it that we in any way could possibly be in 1,100,000 years or any time period in any rational and logical sense be servants to the institution that we created for our benefit, and our service is only making us complicit in our own demise?
Pretty much. I mean, you stated it pretty well. We are complicit in our own demise. I mean, the majority of the people are, because they just go along with, it can't be that bad, it'll never happen, it's not happening, you're an idiot, oh, this isn't going on.
Right.
And then when the
dumbasses.
boot steps on your damn head,
right,
then you'll realize,
yes,
oh my God. And that's what it's going to take for a bunch of them.
Oh, okay. You know what? Another thing I want to bring up now that you said that is that I can say with all confidence that all of this is also a KGB operation, and the KGB, they never fucking stopped. They never stopped.
Nope.
And the KGB, at the top, there was never any separation between the KGB and the CIA, because the KGB and the CIA, they are not, or never were, anything other than the intelligence arm for the institution that pays them.
Just another arm of Hydra.
Just another arm of Hydra. Just the ones that go like, okay, well, but you guys run the subterfuge while we steal all the gold. Or you guys help us steal all the gold and you can store it here. So let's get into like where they store it and where a lot of this stuff is coming from. And we go Basel, Switzerland. And one thing I like about Switzerland is that, a lot of my family is Swiss. And they allow everyone to carry rifles and guns with no restrictions at all, unlike the United States. So let's not pretend anything, because, Switzerland has much more safe and sane laws all the way around, except for they are the seat of treason and tyranny. So we are also going to make claims as people of Switzerland and Germany and Ireland and England and everywhere where our line comes from, because we can trace our line back to Basel, Switzerland in the 1500s. So we'll make that claim, and we'll claim ourselves as having all the rights of the citizen of Switzerland, but in addition, we are the people of Switzerland, and we are the people of everywhere else where our line comes from, because that's where we reside. And we've seen them all. We've pretty much seen a lot of these folks face to face, and they don't. There's nothing sovereign, regal, royal about them. They're ugly human beings. They're physically ugly to look at. They are deceitful. They are predatory. They are murderous. They are destructive. And I don't give a shit about them. Like, honestly, it's like I say, all of these folks, wanted dead or alive. Like, let's do that. Like, United States government, and institutions that control it, and maybe we should say this. Maybe this should be a better instructional video. Maybe the wealthiest, and we're going to need to make sure we're getting the right folks, of course, as always. Don't go after the wrong folks. Go after the right folks.
Go after the guilty.
Go after the guilty. Because nobody else is going after the guilty. So go after the guilty. And the guiltiest in every town are the wealthiest. So if somebody, the more money one has, the more they deserve to be killed under, being guilty of treason. Because there's nothing more treasonous than the banking system. Because that's what greases. That's the engine that runs the military. Now we go when Glenn and I are saying, "Hey, this is all a Pentagon operation." The Pentagon doesn't. I mean, they're tied into the banks, of course, very tied in. But the bank. I mean, it's like the banks are the engine for the Pentagon structure. They lay it all in their Illuminati songs, and as we were saying, we're Illuminati too. We're illuminated. The Brotherhood of the Light. The Kappa Alpha. We're
not in the dark cabal.
Right. We're not dark occultists. It's all in plain sight. It's the military. It's a military operation, and when they lay it out in songs, what do they say? Lawyers first, then guns, then money. Okay, so that's just a song for whatever it's worth, but it's pretty appropriate, I think, because that's what they always have. Just like in Baltimore, we can tie it into Baltimore. They sent the lawyers in to interview them on TV, saying, "Oh yeah, the system works." What a surprise! Oh, she's an up-and-coming star in the field of district attorneys and shit-ass, burnt down fucking, shadow of their former self cities across the United States, especially the East Coast. So, we're going to create a narrative and say, system's not broken and the cops are indicted. Great. Bullshit. It's all fake. So, lawyers, then what do they do? We're going to shut down the baseball stadium. No more baseball games. We can't have, drunk white Orioles fans beating the shit out of, black high school students. And, we can't have, folks from Hagerstown saying they're going to come into Baltimore and start shooting up a bunch of black folks. So, we got to shut the whole city down. Because, actually... I mean, that wouldn't have been the last thing that happened, but, the militia, we already said on international TV, again, this is so funny. We go on international TV saying, oh, yeah, this is all a setup. Don't pay any attention to this. We don't have any dog in this fight. You can tell because, Both sides are controlled by these criminals. If we're in it, you'd know it, because if the militia were actually up and operating, you know, as soon as the governor declared martial law, he wouldn't, you know, if the militia were operating functionally, he would be immediately seized, and within the week he would probably be in front of a firing squad. So, I mean, I don't know why you guys think that this is such a joke, because we laid out how they're planning these East Coast nuclear false flags soon. They've already carried out nuclear false flags, but we're talking about bigger nuclear false flags. And I don't know why you think this is a joke. This is not a joke. We need to shut this down. We know who's, you know, you need to know who Jack Weinstein is. You need to know who General Jack Weinstein is. He's the individual in charge of the ICBMs. You need to know what Operation Samson is, or the Samson option is. You need to know that there are missing nukes all over the United States, and countless missing nukes, including hundreds held by the Zionist state that are pointed at the United States and deployed within the United States.
Yeah, how many suitcase?
And it's not Iran. It's not Al-Qaeda. It's not ISIS. Because when we say ISIS, Iran, Al-Qaeda, but less so Iran than Al-Qaeda and ISIS, we're talking about the international banking institutions. We're talking about the United States military intelligence institutions. We're talking about all the things
the military-industrial complex to begin with. Just
we're talking about, and then we can say
thing.
It's not the military-industrial complex. It's the military banking industrial complex.
The military arm of the banking.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like whatever you say it. It's like whatever way we say it.
Just another arm on Hydra. Yeah,
right. But it's the bankers, and it's not the. But you can't separate the bankers from the military. That's what they like to go. It's like, oh well, the bankers want this, but the military wants this, or the bankers want this, but the oil companies want this, or the military wants this, but the oil companies, they want something completely different. That's not how it works. They always want the same thing because they are the same thing. All the time. Not some of the times. Not that they have some close relationships and that there's a revolving door between the two. It's no revolving door. There is no door. It's the same. It's the same thing. And it's like Hydra is, I think that is, although I like that analogy, I think that gives them too much credit because it's like, again, at the end of the day, these are all just human beings, and anything that they can do to us, we can do to them. Only we can do it quicker because, like I said, I'm saying it. We're saying it. I don't actually do it. I say it. If I wanted to do all sorts of other things that folks may want to project on me, that I could never do anything unlawful, but that some folks might think are illegal. I could have done it to the most powerful individual in a 6-state region. Instead, I called him a bitch on live television and took his fucking seat and told him to get the fuck out of the meeting. And I'm talking about Jeff Lacker. And if I wanted to do anything, it's all just we do it a little more slick than this martial law thing. You know, it was funny. When I was dragged out of City Hall, the only reason that they did that is because they didn't have anything else to do, and I surrendered my position, which I didn't really have to ever do, willingly, to prove a point and to get slapped and turn the other cheek. My name is Christopher, and I'm very well familiar with the Jesus of Edessa, the real figure, and the bringing together the ancient Egyptian, Hyksos, Hebraic mystery religions and the bloodlines that come from that. You know, I'm all aware of all of those things, and I understand them. So when Jesus got smacked and turned the other cheek, basically, that's like you you give them slack that one time, you present the other cheek, and if they smack you again, you fucking kill them. So I operate under those rules, and that's the rules I was operating under at that point. I was operating under those rules. I was operating to demonstrate a point and to use my camera as the weapon, even though they were accusing me of doing something that was physically impossible, and that I, who am the only honest individual, or I should say, the most honest individual in that room at that time, and I can say that with all confidence, even though there were probably 300 or 400 folks in that room at the time, and it was on live television. That we basically just outflanked them. We outflanked the police, and that's what we do every time, and we're going to do it again. Maybe we can talk about the real Fed, John Lewis, and how we outflank.
We'll say that one for the next show, because
that's coming up.
We're running long on this one.
Okay, yeah, we are running long. So always outflank the police. Always be carrying a gun. Never surrender your gun. Always outflank the police. Always get it on video camera, and always have more weapons than your enemy. And if your enemy has more weapons, then that's impossible. Learn to use poison. Learn to use all sorts of asymmetrical warfare. Learn to use psychological warfare, because they are attempting to carry out all war against you, the people, the true people, which is very few, even of the folks I'm talking to. So do it. You got your orders. And whenever
I believe that's a wrap. I think we'll wrap it there, and I'll include the...
This is real, and it's not real, and everything that I say I mean and will carry out, but I don't really mean it, and I possibly won't carry it out, and I probably won't, and I might not, but I will, and I won't, and I will.
And I'll put the links, the PDF file down later under the broadcast, so everybody can see all the documents and everything. Chris has read through some of it. It's pretty extensive, and it's pretty self-explanatory what they're doing. It's right there in the document saying, "Here it is.
Here it is.
This is what we're
America's
doing.
over."
We said America's over. We decided this 20, 30 years ago, and that's the way it is, and you have no say in it.
Yeah.
And welcome to America with a K. And on that, I think we will end.
And who's the ruler of that? Oh, yeah, I'm much higher up than any of the other KAs.
All right, well, good night,
Especially
people.
the feds.
And God bless, and have a good one.
Peace.